Hey there, gorgeous peeps. This is Chris from Recombo, and I'm here with Huawei's P20 flagship phone, brand new for 2018. And I've also got the P20 Lite, a more affordable version that trimmed some of the specs to obtain a more affordable asking price. So we're going to do a quick side by side and see which one might be best for you. Now, first of all, you'll notice, of course, in terms of design, they both rock an iPhone X style notch up top, and that just allows the screen to stretch pretty much to the very top of the handset, and also reaches almost all the way down to the bottom as well. And that just allows you to get a nice stretched aspect ratio. It means that you've got almost a 6-inch display in both cases, and it doesn't feel like a cumbersome handset either. Because the P20 Lite does actually feel significantly lighter than the P20. It's 145 grams, whereas the P20 is almost 180, so it's a significant difference there, definitely in terms of heft. You'll also notice that the standard P20 rocks a fingerprint sensor down beneath the display right here, which is a little bit awkward to sort of reach down to, but you get used to it after a while. Whereas the P20 Lite, it just sports a bit of a Huawei branding down beneath the display. You actually have to flip it over, and there on the back is the fingerprint sensor, more circular effort. It certainly seems to be easier to find. Just when you pick up the handset, your finger sort of naturally falls underneath it. And in terms of general responsiveness and everything as well, they're both pretty nippy. So just give them a quick tap. Now, as you can see, you're basically straight into your desktops. So in terms of responsiveness and accuracy, no problems whatsoever. They're both constructed of glass and metal as well. You actually get a shiny metal edging here on the standard P20, whereas it's more of a matte finish here on the P20 Lite. Around back, you've both of these phones rock a shiny, smudgy glass back. As you can see, the darker models do tend to hide the smudges a little bit better, but they definitely both pick up grime, prints, dust, pretty much everything, especially if you've shoved them away in your dust-filled pocket. You'll definitely want to keep a cleaning cloth handy in order to give them a bit of a sprucing up. Now, you can pick up the standard P20 in this gorgeous sort of rose gold finish with this lovely gradient tinted finish. As you can see, the hue of the back actually changes as you tilt the phone, as your eye moves from top to bottom. It's lovely stuff. You can't get that on the P20 Lite, unfortunately, but you can pick it up in a number of different colours, such as platinum gold, sakura pink, and of course this midnight black version. So at least you've got a choice of hues when you need them. And it's also worth mentioning that the standard P20 is drip resistant, as they've termed it, IP53, whereas you don't get any kind of splash resistance on the standard P20 Lite. So what about that display tech? Well, despite the fact that they're more or less the same size and dimensions and everything, they actually rock very different displays indeed. So here on the standard P20, it's a 5.8-inch RGB WLCD display, and it's nice and punchy, very bright as well. If it's not even on full brightness at the moment, if you boost it all the way up, you'll have no problems reading anything outdoors, even when it's a super harsh daylight. We really like it. Nice wide viewing angles and everything as well. And if you actually dive into the display settings as well, you'll notice that you can fully customize it as well. Go in the color and eye comfort mode. You can turn on natural tone, which basically just changes the color warmth based on the environmental conditions. You've got the standard eye comfort mode for night, and it's set to vivid mode by default as well. So it just gives those nice punchy colors, as you can see there. Otherwise, you can just toggle it onto normal if you want more realistic hues. You don't get quite the same level of customization with the P20 Lite, unfortunately. Those colours aren't quite as punchy, it's not quite as vivid. It sort of does the job, but it's certainly not exactly visually stunning. And if you dive into the settings, you see you won't have the same level of customization as well. You've only got the eye comfort mode. You can't turn on any kind of natural tone mode, unfortunately. And again, there's no vivid mode. You can just sort of manually piddle about with the color temperature yourself. It's not quite as bright as the standard P20, so this is basically pretty much on full brightness. It's definitely not quite as eye-piercing, so you'll kind of struggle a little bit when you're outside if you get some strong reflections on the go. But all the same, they both rock a full HD plus resolution, so you get nice sharp images in both cases. Just get up there nice and close. Oh, bit of a stammer there on the standard P20, and you'll really struggle to notice any differences in terms of the resolution. You won't notice any individual pixels on there. And one final design feature definitely worth pointing out is the fact that the P20 Lite actually sports a 3.5mm headphone jack right here on the bottom edge, something that you will not find on any part of the P20. In fact, the P20, it comes with a 3.5mm to USB Type-C jack bundled in the box. So you can still get your wide phones on the go, but you won't need that adapter with the P20 Lite. It sacrifices one of those little speaker grills, but definitely worth having if you want to use a wired pair. As for the software, they both rock Android Oreo with a bit of a Motion UI on top as well, but in slightly different forms. It's version 8.0.0 of both on the P20 Lite, whereas the standard P20 rocks 8.1.0. You'll struggle to notice much in the way of differences though. There's some little options that aren't quite there on the P20 Lite, which you do get on the P20, but you get strong customization in both cases. You can play around with Huawei's own themes, you can add your own wallpapers, and there's lots of great little gesture support and everything as well. They both have a one-handed mode, so if you just swipe across the navigations dock, as you can see there, you can then get this nice dinky visual display on the go, and that's fully usable. You can dive back into all of your apps and use it like so. So that's pretty handy if you're on the move and only have one hand to operate your handset with. However, the standard P20 does have a slightly better option in terms of the system navigation. You can actually use that fingerprint sensor down beneath the screen in order to replace the virtual navigation bar. So just like a quick swipe or a long press, for instance, will replace those home and recent apps buttons. You don't get that option, unfortunately, on the P20 Lite, as the fingerprint sensor is, of course, around the back anyway. So if you go into system navigation, as you can see, the only option you have is the navigation dock, which is frankly a little bit poo, as we wouldn't recommend bothering to use that. But in both cases, you can thankfully bring back the App Store, so that's all good. And of course, you get all of Huawei's standard apps thrown on there as well, such as the phone manager. You get the likes of the easy transition, so if you're coming from an old phone, you can clone all of your stuff, get it shifted over onto the new handset, all that kind of jazz. And of course, you've got full access to your Play Store, so you can download whatever favourite apps you happen to have as well. Running the show, it is the latest Kirin 970 chipset here on the P20, backed by 4 gigs of RAM, whereas you get the Kirin 659, a bit more of a humble mid-range chipset, but again backed by 4 gigs of RAM. In both cases, pleasingly nippy everyday experience. Apps load up pretty much the instant you tap their buttons and everything, so that's all good. We have actually noticed a few little stutters and stammers here on the P20, mostly when using Google apps, so that's probably more down to Google than actual the 970 chipset itself. But we're hoping that they'll be updated and hopefully be running smoothly in no time at all. As for the storage, you get 128 gigs of storage right here on the standard P20. Unfortunately, it's not actually expandable via micro SD, although a large chunk of it is available. There's very little of it is used up by actually the Motion UI and everything as well. So you've got plenty of space on there for your apps and your media and everything. You get half the amount of storage here on the P20 Lite. It's only 64 gigs, but weirdly, you do have micro SD memory card support. You can either slot in 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card and a micro SD memory card of up to 250 gigs in size. You can actually get more storage on the Lite version than you can on the standard P20. Weird, right? And as for the battery tech, it's a bigger battery than the standard P20. It's actually a 3400 milliamp, and it tends to last us about a day and a half, we've found, with a full charge. P20 Lite we are yet to fully test out, but it's a smaller 3000 milliamp cell, so hopefully we'll get over a day of use out of it still. And of course, in both cases, you get the power saving mode, the ultra power saving mode as well, and you can optimize the battery usage as well at any point just with a quick tap, and that just basically kills some of the juice sucking apps in the background, all that kind of stuff, in order to give you the longest possible battery life. Which brings us onto the camera tech, and again, it's a very different story. You do get a dual lens snapper in both of these cases, but as you can see, it's Leica branded here on the standard P20, whereas you don't get any of that Leica branding on the P20 Lite. In the case of the standard P20, it's a 12 megapixel RGB lens and a 20 megapixel monochrome lens working together to capture some really nice crisp shots with some good depth of focus. And it's an f1.8 RGB lens and an f1.6 monochrome lens, so it's really good in low light situations. They suck up a lot of light, you can get some really nice results. Unfortunately, it's an f2.2 16 megapixel lens backed by an f2.4 2 megapixel lens in the P20 Lite. So as you can see, quite a big difference in terms of the number of megapixels on offer for start, and also the aperture as well. So you won't be able to suck up quite as much light. Those low light shots won't look quite as detailed. You'll get a bit more grain on the go. If we dive into the camera apps, you'll see they're a very different experience as well. The standard P20 offers the new Huawei camera app, where you can actually, it's more of an iPhone style app where you can flick between some of the more popular modes right here. Whereas on the P20 Lite, it's the more traditional Huawei camera app. As you can see, you still get a whole bunch of features right here. You can jump into the portrait mode nice and easily on either of these phones. That offers the usual beautification, gumph and all the rest. In both cases, a nice little bokeh effect in the background too. Here on the P20 Lite, you can also quickly turn on the Living Images, or Moving Picture, as it is known in Huawei's case, and that just shoots a nice little bit of video snippets every time you shoot a photo, just to bring your galleries to life. But basically, both of these phones rock all kinds of bonus camera modes. As you can see, you've got full pro controls, whether you're shooting photos or videos, which is always good, so you can get a bit of that on the go. You can shoot raw images on both of these handsets as well, so you can edit on the go too, which is very, very impressive stuff indeed, and plenty of other bonus shenanigans on top of that. As you can see, you can shoot the likes of light painting mode, night mode, all that kind of stuff as well. You've also got super slow motion, shooting at 960 frames per second here on the standard P20, whereas you just got the more bog standard basic slow motion here on the P20 Lite. And in terms of just your general video shooting, you can shoot up to 4K resolution right here on the standard P20. As you see here, you can also shoot full HD video at up to 60 frames per second. Whereas unfortunately, you're a bit more limited here on the P20 Lite, as you might imagine. If we actually dive into the video mode, yeah, there we go. Resolution, as you can see, tops off at full HD 1080p. You've got no 60 frames per second option and no Ultra HD 4K either. And of course, in your photo mode, you also get the option of a 2x hybrid zoom here on the standard P20, whereas you can just do the sort of the bog standard basic digital zoom right here on the P20 Lite, so it won't capture quite as much detail. And around the front of these handsets, you get a 16 megapixel f2.0 selfie snapper here on the P20 Lite, whereas it's a 24 megapixel f2.0 snapper here on the P20. They're both not great in low light situations. We found they can be a bit grainy, a lack of detail, definitely for sure. But you do get a screen flash option in both cases as well, so you can get that on the go when you're shooting in low light. So that, in a nutshell, is the P20 Lite versus the P20. There is a bit of a jump in price between the two, 329 SIM-free compared with 599 SIM-free. Of course, you get the better camera tech, you get more premium specs and everything, and a slightly more premium design as well in the P20. But then the P20 Lite sports a really nice rear mounted fingerprint sensor, and you've got that expandable storage as well. So there are actually a couple of advantages of getting the P20 Lite, and they sport many of the same software features too. So which one would you be more tempted by? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching everyone. Love you, bye.